You may close your eyes and let your awareness to rest in your body. Applying mindfulness to deep inhaling and exhaling to begin with. Without getting caught in every thought, breaking that spell through giving a break to the mind. Simply aware you breathe in and breathe out. We lack nothing, we have everything we need. As seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking slowly fade away, you become the pure awareness. Any obstacles, you may remove them. If it is a pain in your foot, you may adjust your foot. And scan your upper body's movements as you breathe in and breathe out. If there is any little irritation somewhere, apply the truth so any ignorance disappears and you arrive at the reality. You are left with whatever you take away from that understanding. This moment is beautiful. This moment is wonderful. You can see how that kind of thinking makes your mind light and uplifted. To be centered with your breath, notice where the breath enters and leaves the body. Like a gatekeeper, you stay present, noticing each entry and exit. No effort, just happening. Sometimes you didn't do anything, you just let things be. The mind has settled. Notice the feeling of your breath or feelings of your breath as they come and go and touch the walls of your nostrils. You are there in that one spot. And the rest of the body disappears from your awareness. Just the sensations of you inhaling and exhaling, and you are satisfied with what you do. No agenda, no fixing things in your mind, just acceptance, welcoming all that comes and goes. No duality, not wanting to be this way or that way. Fully present. You can see the monkey nature of your mind jumping here and there. Also occasionally come into your inhaling and exhaling experience, wanting to be there as well. You make more of it. More and more settled. Good posture is important to meditation, and if you have any pain arising, mindfully you can change your posture anytime and come back to your breathing. Tiny tingling sensations that arise are never yours. They conditionally arise. When conditions disappear, they disappear. No use of complaining or grasping onto them. What is the mood of your mind at this moment? You may wonder. And can you regulate that with a little wholesome effort to greater heights? When seeing, simply see. When hearing, simply hears. When smelling, simply smells. When tasting, simply tastes. When feeling, the body simply feels. When thinking, simply thinks. It all becomes mental, away from the body. Slow down, remaining calm and aware. You can experiment with slow breathing, controlled breathing. Okay. So this morning I was thinking that we can think about, something like, who are you in between our thoughts? Have you ever asked that question from yourself? Or is there a you in between our thoughts? We are individuals doing our own things. Privately, we are one person, publicly another. Of course, it's always that way because we spend a lot of time in our thoughts, doing what the thoughts tell us to do. It's like a spell put on us. So we go in circles, doing what the thoughts tell us to do. So the Buddha gave us different teachings, looking at this pattern of humans. In one teaching, this is in Middle Discourses number 20, it's called Vitakkasaṇṭhāna, stilling of Vitakka. Vitakka is a thought. One technique, there are 5 in here. One is thought displacement. Instead of the thought that you have in there, you replace it with a different thought. Suppose you have thought of anger, annoyment, frustration or something, and you bring it loving kindness in place of that. It's doable, right? And there's a simile the Buddha used that is like carpenter using a small peg to remove a bigger peg. They use wood pieces to put bigger pieces together, bigger limbs of a chair, for example, together. They didn't have nails those days. And the way they did that is to use a small one. And I always had this thought, is loving kindness a small peg compared to aversion that one may have? But we can make that loving kindness bigger when the distracting other thing disappears. You fill the whole space with loving kindness. And the other technique is seeing the disadvantage, danger of those thoughts. That these thoughts are unwholesome, they are blameworthy, and that they bring suffering. And this is called aversion therapy. So your attention goes to this, perhaps averting, and that seeing the disadvantage. I'm not sure if aversion therapy is the right way to look at it. You tell me. And there's a simile for this too. It's a very bizarre one, that a young man or a woman who loves wearing garlands, but instead somebody gives a carcass of a snake as a garland, and they remove it quickly. This is not what I want to wear. So that rush to get rid of it. It also, gives other, like, a carcass of a dog, a human, and then trying to hang it on her neck. She says, no, this is disgusting. So you think that way about the same way about your thoughts. Next, non-attention. How are they different from the first two? The first one, how is this one different from the first two? The first one we used displacement, and then that seeing the danger, and here non-attention. I think similar to what we did in our meditation. Instead of giving attention to everything that is happening around us, the non-attention also is like giving attention to just one thing so that other things disappear from your attention. But here it says, just as a man with eyes not wishing to see sights around him would shut his eyes or look away in another direction. And that way a monk is able to get rid of the bad, unwholesome thoughts by not minding them and by disregarding them. Having not minded them, disregarded them, those bad, unwholesome thoughts are eliminated and disappear. By their elimination, the mind thus stands firm internally, settles down, becomes unified and concentrated. Now the fourth technique is thought reduction. Should attend to the stilling of the thought formation. So when there is a bad, unwholesome thought, reducing it to the place where they are arisen. Having attended to the stilling of the thought formations, those bad, unwholesome thoughts are eliminated and disappear. Mind then stands firm internally. Just as a man finding no reason for walking fast, walks slowly. Finding no reason for walking slowly, stands. Finding no reason for standing, sits down. Finding no reason for sitting down, lies down. Thus giving up an awkward posture for an easy one. So then, should the monk attend to the stilling of the thought formation by identifying the causes of those bad, unwholesome thoughts. Having stilled the thought formations, identified the causes of those bad, unwholesome thoughts, they are eliminated and disappear. And the last one is sustained effort with clenched teeth and tongue pressing on the palate. This really sounds un-Buddhist to many people. With clenched teeth and tongue pressing on the palate. Those bad, unwholesome thoughts are eliminated and disappeared. Just as a stronger man holding a weaker man by the head or by the shoulders would restrain, subdue, and attack him. Do you want to do that? With clenched teeth and the tongue pressing on the palate, he should subdue, restrain, attack the bad mind with the good mind. That is how the mastering of the mind is taught. Thus, bad, unwholesome thoughts are eliminated and disappeared. So, using a different sign, seeing the danger of those thoughts, not minding those thoughts and disregarding them, and the stilling of the thought formation, and this last technique with clenched teeth and the tongue pressing on the palate. So I think for that last technique, they say that maybe it is the Jain influence, but who knows? Maybe the Buddha said that over the years of his own teaching, and kind of, you can look when you make that extra effort with teeth clenched. Maybe this was a technique the Buddha himself used. Instead of just not doing anything physically, he did do something physically too that gave him a break from the mental effort. Because he says the fifth method is also found in Vitakkasaṇṭhānasutta. The aspiring Buddha says, I thought, suppose my teeth clenched and my tongue pressed against my palate. I beat down the mind with mind. While I did so, it was just like a strong man holding a weaker man by the head or by the shoulders, were to restrain, subdue, attack him. Sweat ran down from my armpit. But although tireless energy was aroused in me and unremitting mindfulness was established, my body was overstrained and uncalm because I was exhausted by the painful striving. But such painful feeling that arose in me did not invade my mind and remained. So then you have to think that this is out of place, that in the stilling of distracting thoughts, the Buddha seems to be discouraging this practice of self-mortification. So how far is too far that he went in that his own effort, and how much are we supposed to be doing here? So then scholars like W.L. King and J. Bronkhurst say that this must be Jain influence. Jain practices had come to be accepted by at least some Buddhists, because those Jain monks were ordained in Buddhist tradition at the time, and they did not abandon their practices. That's okay, we didn't do that practice today, but you could try this at home. No harm comes your way. So let me read a little bit more. Although this method does not work in bringing awakening to the Bodhisattva, it is not actually a method based on self-modification, but merely a gesture of unrelenting determination. So you can look at it that way. In fact, this sutta does not present this fifth method as one that on its own brings about awakening. It is only a method of last resort, to be applied only when all the other attempts to overcome unwholesome thoughts have failed. That makes sense. Elsewhere in another sutta that is called Dvedhāvitakkasutta, Dvedha is splitting thoughts, Vitakka Vitakka is again thoughts, splitting them twofold thinking, wholesome, unwholesome. So you can do that in your meditation. That is wholesome. Oh, this is unwholesome. That is wholesome. This is unwholesome. And that also is a way that cuts down overthinking and gives you some sense of uh, understanding of your own behavior, giving you the idea that what you think you become. So you may not become this, but you may become that. So it's clearly shown in those teachings to monks that you can definitely sort of divide your mind into two. And this is skillful division. Uh, when you make more of the wholesome ones, you can bring the monster to a restrained, calm place. It's a mind game again. It's a game that you play not on a computer screen, but with your eyes closed. Any thoughts?
Wondering about the clenching. Maybe.
Have you done that?
Not
Well,
much.
people do that. They do that like not in meditation.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
Right.
Like if I'm trying to move something.
Exactly, not in a controlled environment, right? I can't even open a lid. Somebody said, why you need a husband for it? Just to open it. Somebody else said, oh, I haven't had any pickle lately for a year. And my husband and I are separated. that that must have a special purpose in you because we have learned that technique, like that expression somehow.
We're trying to push.
Yeah. So were you going to say something? Yeah, if people were in a group meditating and that somebody starts doing that with the sound, their teeth clenched and tongue pressed. I think the tongue pressed, we may take it seriously, like tongue pressed against your palate gives you some sense of mindful controlling. I would think that a moment of doing that would be needed for some people.
Just as a reminder?
Just as a reminder, like an anchor, anchoring your thoughts. And then, it's like the calm afterwards. You're allowing things to be just a physical reminder, I think. Just harmless. Imagine you are in forest now. You don't have your teachers around, no monks around. You are on your own. You can break precepts, indulge in unwholesome thinking, or fight like that. Gradually fighting. Ajahn Brahm, when I was his translator when he was teaching in Sri Lanka, and he said he was teaching monks, 200 monks, listening carefully, and I liked that. I did that, and he said at one time he was in this mountain, and down the hill this was a tea plantation, all just like in swing. If have you seen tea plantation? Like all trimmed nicely, nice trees cut, people plucking leaves. And he was in a little cabin down the hill. And he was struggling with his meditation. And he told his mind, you can, so he told his mind, okay, I will give you 24 hours to meditate and 1 hour to think whatever you want to think. In that 1 hour, it's all yours. But 23 hours, I'll be in meditation. So it's just 24 hours and then just that 1 hour when he's awake. And that he realized by doing so, his mind began to calm down. Because mind now has some sense of control. Okay, there's 1 hour for me. And in that 1 hour, there's freedom to think anything he wanted. Think, it's like that. Sometimes mind needs to be told that, he also has some time entitled to have that time. So that instead of going into unskillful thoughts of sensuality, thoughts of aversion, thoughts of delusion, mind was able to calm down and was looking for that tranquility it had before. So that's a good thing that can happen. Yeah. Anything else?
I'd be curious to go over, I don't know if you're going over, yeah, I guess that divide between unwholesome and wholesome thought.
Mm-hmm.
Field practice one of these. At that experiment, how does one discern again unwholesome and wholesome thought? Particularly knowing when you're having wholesome thoughts. So
Yeah. We can, I think it's what we did in the meditation today. Sometimes we try to think that it is a technique called, that is alien to us, when in fact we have actually done just that in every time we did our meditation. Instead of going with the unwholesome thoughts, we now have chosen wholesome thoughts. It's just that. And this is called Dvedhāvitakkasutta. Let me quickly find it. If you are in that group, I think you are. I sent a link.
Oh, can you add me?
Yeah, I will let you.
this is the daily message.
Yeah. Bhikkhus, that is monks, while I was still only an enlightened bodhisattva. Bodhisattva is someone who is aspiring to be the Buddha. It occurred to me, suppose that I divide my thoughts into two classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty. And I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, so that is the way he abided, a thought of sensual desire arose in me. I understood that this thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to the affliction of others, to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. So it brings more thoughts into that exercise, right? There is thinking here to bring to arrive at a place of not thinking so much. This leads to my own affliction. It subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. This is like, say, for lack of a better example, someone who has thoughts about another person, and that other person does not have this kind of thoughts. And this someone wants to send a text, and that ruins their friendship. So you start to think, oh, I may as well just stay in that friend zone, not violate. So that, disciplines one's mind and you save the friendship. It's just like something simple like that. So it can bring, you can simply think, even you send that text or when you send that email and you send that message or thing, how, when you say that thing, what happens in their mind. It's very tricky there. It's just that moment that boundaries are violated. This is a very, very difficult thing when someone's mind is hijacked by hormones, emotion, unskillful thinking, invasive thinking, possessive thinking, or thoughts of attachment. How true is that, right? So and now instead, Bodhisattva thinks this leads to the affliction of me and others. That means, you will be crushed by those thoughts. Thus, when I considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, so his goal is Nibbana, final unbinding from all kinds of things. It subsided in me. Whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of ill will arose in me. It is the same things, ... A thought of cruelty arose in me. Same practice. Whatever a monk frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, he has abandoned the thought of renunciation to cultivate the thought of sensual desire. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of sensual desire. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of ill will, and then he has steered away from thoughts of calm. Just as in the last month of the rainy season, in the autumn, when the crops thicken, a cowherd would guard his cows by constantly tapping and poking them on this side and that side with a stick to check and curb them. Why is that? Because he sees that he could be flogged, imprisoned, fined, or blamed if he let them stray into the crops. So too, I saw in unwholesome states danger, degradation, defilement, and in wholesome states the blessing of renunciation, the aspect of cleansing. As I abided thus diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of renunciation arose in me. I understood thus this thought of renunciation has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction or to others' affliction or to the affliction of both. It aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to others. It does not lead it and leads to Nibbana. This is very, very direct, saying this can be done like a self-exercise. And the simile closes here, just as in the last month of the hot season, when all the crops have been brought inside the villages, a cowherd would guard his cows while staying at the root of a tree or out in the open, since he needs only to be mindful that the cows are there. No need to poke them, nothing to guard. So easy, work is easy. He does not have to think about punishment or being killed or anything like that. Tireless energy was aroused in me, and unremitting mindfulness was established. My body was tranquil and untroubled, my mind concentrated and unified, and quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states. I entered upon and abided in the first jhana. I directly knew I entered these stages, and it has a lot in here. Second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, and there are stages he went in his mind, and that he makes a final statement. True knowledge was arisen in me in that night. Ignorance was banished, and true knowledge arose. Darkness was banished. Light arose, as happens in one who abides diligent, ardent, and resolute. So I think reading and practicing these requires starting somewhere, as we all do, and it becomes your own thing that you do. I'm not saying that you should abandon all your careers and come to Peace House and do only this. But this is what he did, Buddha did. This is what monks were taught to do. And these interesting, very useful teachings are preserved for us so we can look and apply them in our own lives. He says toward the end, the false path is a term for the wrong eightfold path. That is wrong view, wrong intention, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong effort, wrong mindfulness, and wrong concentration. So when you apply it right for all these, that is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, you are directing your mind toward good welfare and toward the direction of where the Buddha went. The safe and good path to be traveled joyfully is presented to you. Okay, question. Any other thoughts? Right. Yeah, I think I did not mean to go on and on with that, but I thought, instead of saying, let's do it next time, who knows, right? If there is a next time, I may as well just, bring that up and go directly into the teaching. So we have it in our minds now. Let's share some merits. So we end the session. May the suffering ones be suffering free, and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming to meditate.